All right. Well, we're excited to introduce you to our fourth company today, which is TLGY Acquisition Corp and Verde Bioresins. TLGY is a special purpose acquisition company, or a SPAC, with deep roots in private equity and transformational operations that recently announced a proposed business combination with Verde Bioresins, a visionary in sustainable product innovation and full-service bioplastics production company with its innovative and proprietary bioresins known as polyethylene. With a strong focus on driving value creation over the long term, the partnership between TLGY and Verde aspires to offer sustainable solutions to address the global plastic pollution crisis. Joining us today are Jingun Kim, founder, chairman, and CEO of TLGY Acquisition, and Brian Gordon, chairman, president, COO of Verde Bioresins. Brian and Jingun, please go ahead.
Great. Brian, do you want to start? We should go to the page.
Yeah, why don't we? So my name's Brian Gordon, and I founded Verde Bioresins about 4 years ago. We looked, when looking at making a bioresin company, we spoke to national brands, we spoke to converters, and we looked at all the analysis of what's going on in the industry, and we found that only 5 to 6% of bioplastics are ever recycled, or of actual plastics are ever recycled, and 85% of all plastics in the US end up in landfills. So as a result of that, we created a polyethylene resin, which is a bio-based resin that's curbside recyclable and landfill biodegradable. And we did this not only to replace traditional bioplastics, but we also did this to replace traditional plastics as well. So we're looking at a market that's 600 billion, and polyethylene can replace roughly 300, our total available market is roughly 300 billion. That focuses on polyethylene and polypropylene replacements.
Great. So before we go into some of these exciting things about why we stand out in the next page, I want to just tell you a little bit about TLGY and our transactions. TLGY is a very special SPAC. It really is a private equity in its DNA and approach, mainly from my background as a long-term partner at TPG and a transformation CEO of multiple market-leading companies in Asia, mostly. And I created a business using SPAC to exactly do what I did, pretty well in TPG, to find these great diamonds in the rough or the unicorns in the making. And after looking at dozens of companies, we got very excited with what Brian is doing. And it had all of the things that is required to make a successful transaction. So our SPAC has made an announcement in June. We have filed and have gotten back comments from SEC. We're ready to go now on a very intense sort of roadshow to really help Brian get the capital that he needs to build a market leader in what is, in our opinion, one of the best macros. And we believe that what Brian has put together is one of the best opportunities that exist in that market, which today hasn't really seen any winners take over. So if you go to the next page, please. So Brian, maybe you can walk us through a little bit about the technology and the market, and then I'll talk a little bit about the SPAC.
That sounds great. So to begin with, on this page, basically, polyethylene was created as we just discussed, but ultimately, it was due to demand by forces like governments, social and environmental groups that have pushed national brands towards sustainability, and now a lot of these companies have chief sustainability officers. They have mandates for sustainability within the next 3 to 8 years, and ultimately, that's why we believe that we're positioned very well to take a significant portion of the market. We looked at other companies, we looked at other bioplastics, and we determined that for us, we need to make a product that is drop-in ready so that converters can put our product, our polyethylene resin, into their existing manufacturing equipment as a direct replacement to traditional plastics, that it has to be economically feasible. And we've done that by taking predominantly off-the-shelf ingredients and off-the-shelf equipment and modifying it to meet our needs, and then making it highly scalable. And as a result, we're looking at raising about $55 million for Verde to enable us to grow from capacities of tens of millions of pounds a year to capacities of hundreds of millions of pounds a year. So when you take a look at our market, which is tremendous in terms of $600 billion plastics market, our focus is 300 billion pounds of polyethylene and polypropylene. Ultimately, we can make products like thermoform applications, which bioplastics traditionally can't do. We can make durable goods, which again is not something that a traditional bioplastics company that's biodegradable can do. Living hinges. And then, of course, we can make bags and blow molded products. So ultimately, we covered the gambit, and we're working with dozens of national brands to create their products in a more sustainable and renewable fashion.
Yeah, and as a spec, we are very unique, as I said in the introduction, that we take a private equity approach of looking for long-term investments that we believe is going to have a breakout. The way we have used the earnout and a performance-based hurdles that will allow the company to later on make up for its economics as well as sponsors. It also allows a very low valuation compared to the market comp and the TAM and the potential that it has. So that is a very unique component that we are using as a part of our private equity approach in the spec market. But also there's something else that we've innovated. As I come from a transformational complex deals, we've looked at spec as a blank sheet of paper that can literally create any solutions that you may have. And today's market, as everyone knows, has a problem with redemption and a lot of bad deals. So what we've done is we've created a structure that actually mitigates that overhang. So a lot of the people that are looking at spec today do not want to invest before de-spec, mainly because a lot of them, they think is going to go down. So there's no reason for them to invest really before de-spec. What we've created, of course, is a great deal that we believe is fairly valuable at a discount. But more importantly, we've created this instrument, which there are a lot of details in the AK, probably too much to go into in this presentation, that allows both the upside and downside protection for investors as the redemption goes up. And we are going to expect redemptions in this market, so that at some point, these investors will get so much economics with high redemption in a naturally mitigating mechanism that it gives them a compelling reason to actually come in before the spec. So it actually gives the opposite reason when they look at our spec structure. And then we've had a great reception from the market and the banks and other investors that we've been talking about. And so this is one reason why I think that investors might want to take a really good look at both the Verde as a long-term great investment, but also trying to make an investment before the de-spec is conclusive. So if we go to the next page, let me just summarize very quickly what Brian has said and why in my and our team's due diligence, we've looked at this company and said, this is really a game changer. And for anybody who's been following the sustainability market, you will get to understand very quickly that what Brian has put together is very innovative, and the way he's approaching is very commercial. So first of all, he's offering a product which is not a scientific experiment that will take years, hundreds of millions of dollars to get there. And that's one of the reasons that you don't see these companies be successful today. But it's something that is both biomaterial and biodegradable in landfill, where most of the plastics actually end up, as opposed to very limited compostable or recycling facility. And then he's got products that actually fits right into the infrastructure and then makes the whole thing work without having to change anything, unlike a lot of these early stage scientific experiments, in our view, which we believe requires a lot of development of manufacturing and overhauling of the existing infrastructure to get there. And the final thing that we think is very interesting is that we are offering this at a very good price that's competitive to the traditional plastic, unlike a lot of the others, which could be 2 to 4 times more expensive. And it delivers the performance of the plastics that's out there. So if you really think about the huge TAM and a great demand and a regulation that is really pushing the market for a solution, and yet it is only about 2% market penetration. So we looked at all these things and said, wow, what Brian has really done is really amazing. So we are backing this company. And if you go to the next page, please, next page. This spec right now has a valuation that we've given to Verde at 365, which is, in our view, at a huge discount to what some of the other peers that have gone public at multi-billion-dollar valuations for something that we believe is not as interesting in terms of the technology, the commercialization, and all the things that Brian has talked about. So we're very excited. We have about $80 million in trust, and we're also going after some pipe with some strategic interest that we believe is going to materialize over the next few weeks. You know, Brian, do you want to say anything else about some of the momentum you're having in the market? I know that we can't disclose anything that's not public, but you got some really exciting things that's going to be happening, and all of the pipeline and the things that is happening because of your product will be great, and also some partnership.
Sure, we do. So we're working both directly with very large brands, global brands, as well as through our distribution partnership with Vinmar International and Vinmar Polymers America. So they're distributing our product as well. And so together we're looking at probably 6 dozen opportunities currently, and our sales pipeline is really phenomenal right now. It's in excess of $250 million at the current time, and growing every week. So when you take a look at it, we've partnered with Vinmar, who's one of the largest plastics distributors in the world, and petrochemical companies like Braskem that are making the move and have made the move into sustainable products to help to bring about this change. We're working with great equipment providers that are helping us to achieve the initial production equipment that we're looking to achieve, as well as strategic raw materials providers that we can then manipulate those raw materials as well as the equipment and enable them to suit our needs. And that's what enables us to scale. And that's also what enables us to achieve the price points that we're looking at, which are substantially below many of the bio-based bioplastic products in the industry today. So ultimately, we believe that will drive in the second year, 6 months after, starting 6 months after the de-SPAC, 60 to 80 million in revenue, and EBITDA margins in the 15 to 20% range. And over time, we expect both the price and the margins to increase based on scale. Jingun.
Due to the limited time that we have, I think we kind of use up all our time here. But please do go to our website, either Verde or TLGY websites, and you'll see a lot of details. As a private equity in DNA, we really did a lot of due diligence, have put out a lot of information and thoughts behind this transaction. And for any of you who are interested in having a conversation with us to be part of our exciting journey, you know, we really welcome that. And thank you, Caroline and our labs team, for an opportunity to speak this great story.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian and Jingun, for being here today and telling us about your exciting story. As a reminder, everyone, anyone who would like to ask a question, please type it in the Q&A box. See, we have a few questions here. Brian, You talked about the potential market opportunity for Verde, which is $300 billion. But when looking at the short-term potential TAM, it's now currently at 100 billion. What are the primary drivers that will propel the TAM to 300 billion in the long run?
Well, ultimately, we're continuing to develop other bio-based resins that are biodegradable. We're currently working on coatings on paper. We're working on foam products, and that'll help drive the growth as well as just time and market and the ability to scale will just continue to drive demand. And we believe that 100 billion, 300 billion, they're both huge numbers. And if we can take 5% of that market over the long run, we have a tremendous business.
Thanks, Brian. Very helpful. In terms of the forecasted revenue that you mentioned, you talked about the 250 million. And is that confirmed by a client sales pipeline backlog? And if so, maybe can you elaborate on the sales pipeline? What are the different stages of customer testing or purchase orders, if you can?
Sure. So those are based on our customer, either the numbers that they've provided us with based on what we expect to be replacing of their traditional plastic or bioplastic products. That's also numbers coming from our distributors, as well as ultimately most of our products in that range are in late stages of testing. Either they're testing in their volume manufacturing facilities, and we've tested these products for the most part in volume conversion facilities to begin with. We worked with the leaders in the industry, companies that convert 100 million to 500 million pounds to create the products that you've seen here.
Thanks, Brian. Jin-Gun, question for you. This de-SPAC redemption rates are notoriously high in the current environment. What makes this proposed transaction different? How has it been structured? I know you talked a little bit about that in your introduction. How has it been structured to encourage people to invest before the de-SPAC and hold for the long term? Can you dive deeper into this?
Yes, I actually is pretty complicated mechanism. It will be explained in 8K presentation. If you go to our website, happy to also have a separate conversation. In a very simple nutshell, there's 6 million shares of warrants for those who value it, which is fundamental investors, which can be converted into 1.2 million shares of common for those who don't value warrants because they don't trade well in the market and they want to get out now and they want to get common. So it's a 5-to-1 ratio, which basically creates the value of warrant into $2 as opposed to, say, 20 cents. It's like a 5 to 10x increase for those who don't believe in the deal. And so 1.2 million common, if you convert all of it, will be given to anyone who's standing. So let's say that there was only one person standing. That one person buys that $10 share and he gets a windfall of $12 million of common, which obviously is not going to happen. So therefore, there's some number between $12 million and a 90% redemption. You'll be protected down to $4. Your cost becomes $4 when you buy it at 10.9 right now, because you're getting about 2.6 shares for free. So there's some number between $10 million and 2.5 shares and something that's maybe better or worse, where the market will settle. This is a very unique structure that no one actually that I know has created, which does not pull from the future, meaning you're not issuing anything new to do this. We're using the IPO warrants and cleaning up the cap table 5-to-1 to give these economics to people who actually don't redeem. So I think this is a mechanism that provides a huge upside for those who actually get lucky and everyone else redeems. they end up with millions of dollars. And so therefore, it's a compelling reason for somebody to come in before the SPAC.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and
Jin-Gun.
and Carolyn, this is a strategic advantage, and that's part of the reason why we chose TLGY and Jin-Gum's innovative structure, as well as his private equity background.
Great. Well, no, that's very helpful. I think that you give a lot of context to the audience here. If anyone would like to connect with the TLGY or Verde team, please reach out to us or go to their investor relations website. Would be happy to connect you with the team here. And don't forget to add the ticker TLGY on NASDAQ to your watch list. Thank you, Brian and Jin-Gun.
Thank you so much.